Good morning, friends. Dr. Devashish from Oman. Um, we are approaching the weekend, at least in the Middle East, because the weekends comprises of Friday and Saturday. So before we start the weekend, I thought let me offer some food for thought. And today I wish to address a very focused, very narrow segment of the population, which is the students who have just appeared for class 12 board exams, higher secondary school exams. I wish to address this particular segment of the population because, being a father myself, I have my own son who has also appeared for class 12. And I believe that this range of population or this group of youngsters are really facing the worst of nightmares that anybody would never wish even his worst of foe or enemy to go through. I can see the agony and the anxiety and the throes of uncertainty in my own son's face, morning, evening, and night. And so I felt that someone should address these youngsters and soothe their jagged nerves and give them a positive, well lit way ahead to circumvent or navigate through this moment of crisis. So let's just take a cursory look at the scenario. Thousands or rather lakhs of students either in India and let me correct myself, I am focusing only on my Indian population and my colleagues whose children are either studying in India or in the schools, different schools, international Indian curriculum schools abroad. So I would only be addressing this segment of the population. So let us look at the take a cursory look at the scenario. Lakhs, or say hundreds of thousands of children have appeared for class 12 board exams. The exams, first and foremost, the exams this year were preponed by almost 3 weeks compared to the normal customary month of March. They started well ahead in February. And while the exams were going on, came the corona pandemic and everything went topsy turvy. The majority of the students have been left absolutely gaping in awkward surprise, astonishment, and bewilderment to the fact that quite a few of them have had either their last or maybe some even two papers left unexamined for because of the acutely imposed lockdown all over the world due to the coronavirus pandemic. My son also has had his last paper of information technology suspended indefinitely or rather scrapped because of the corona lockdown and the inability to either procure the examination papers from India or submit the filled up answer sheets back to India and get them evaluated. So imagine the fragile state of an 18-year-old's mind who was all ambitious, all thrilled, all charged up to embark on a new career and make academic profession a dreamt about, much thought about, much desired career ahead. And suddenly he has a spanner in the wheels that he's still not completed one or two of his papers. I think the agony and the misfortune is much bigger in certain parts within the country of India, particularly as I gather in northeast Delhi and in northeast parts of the country, where most of the exams have been suspended, and now these children, after a long hiatus of 3 to 4 months, have to gear themselves back into their study tables and keep pouring through the books again, kickstart their enthusiasm, kickstart their energy levels, and again, scrap on the knee and elbows and write up their papers. It's indeed a very pathetic, sorrowful, and sad moment for these kids. Now, obviously, when a child, when an 18-year-old juvenile or teen is thrust without even the slightest amount of willingness or acceptance into such a scenario of ambiguity and uncertainty, he's going to rebel. And how are the children, most of the kids rebelling? Obviously, their biological lifestyles have gone for a total topspin. Late nights or all night, they are busy. Now, unfortunately, lockdown doesn't allow them to go out of the house and engage in physical activity, exercise, bodybuilding, running, jogging, whatever physical activities they were normally accustomed to do. And so I think majority have sought refuge in this magical world of video games or computer generated games, or different kinds of PS1, PS2, PS4, or whatever these boxes, hot box, set box, whatever. uh, this may be an engagement to keep them confined at home, but it's also going to have its deleterious effects in the long run. Prolonged hours of exposure to a flickering LED screen is definitely going to take a toll on their eyesight. Too much of focused, closed, very close focal length concentration on a shining LED screen is also going to affect their mental concentration abilities. And while they may be developing into geniuses in terms of hand eye coordination skills, but they may be getting very subtly tubulovisioned or conditioned into reflex responses to virtual reality rather than ground zero reality. And this is a matter of concern. The next thing which has happened is whenever somebody is unhappy, somebody is troubled, somebody is faced with confusions and dilemma in his mind, his normal response is to be defensive, aggressively defensive at times, and to be breathing an air of negativity around me. I'm sure all parents like me must be dealing with real tough emotional scenarios when dealing with their boys or girls of this particular segment at home, when you ask them to get up early in the morning or go through their daily chores or try to do something purposeful or try to do something. My dear young friends, I agree. It's very sad, it's very unfortunate that you people have been caught in this moment. But you don't need a counselor, you don't need a shrink, you don't need a psychiatrist, you need yourself. Your father, your mother, your brother, your sister, your uncle, your auntie, we all are accessories in this process of making you realize what you need to do. But eventually, the person who has to do it is you. So it's my humble request. It's my with a hug, with a pat on your shoulder, with a big smile. I request all of you, please utilize this time. I'm not saying give up on your video games, give up on your PUBG, or give up on your different entertainment modalities through the virtual reality platforms, but also realize that time is the best friend or the worst enemy. Time slips through your hands and fingers like the grains of sand when you try to scoop up a handful of sand in the beach. It just slips through the fingers. Time lost, because 6 months, 1 year down the line, when you will be standing in the queue for an admission to a prestigious esteemed university, it is not your justification of why things were beyond your control and why you couldn't do something, and then that your admissions have got delayed or your entry into an undergrad program has got delayed. But what is going to make the difference when you submit your resume for perusal to a university selection board is how wisely, how smartly, how confidently, and how brilliantly you use this time to add special ornaments or special additives in your resume. Now, it need not be something academic. There is a palisade of things that you can do, an array of options which are available to you. You may want to become an engineer, you may want to become an information technology engineer or a software engineer, but it will always add to your resume if you will bother to learn Spanish or French or German. These are languages which can be learned online, at least a working knowledge of these languages which you can do. You can always project yourself as a much more socially aware and socially conscientious individual, to your selection committee, if you go out and start doing volunteering work. Coronavirus pandemic is a great opportunity. Supposing you start volunteering for activities and for options which are aimed towards charitably helping the community. You can do some volunteering for the Red Cross. You can do for the Corona pandemic control rooms. You can do charity for different orphanages or associations for handicapped or deaf, dumb, mute, and blind kids. There are so many options where you can just go and engage yourself for a couple of hours a day and do some work. Now, when you will interact, when you will step out of the confines of your very closed inner space, and when you will start, you know, interacting with the society around you, your mind will open. You will be exposed to 1,000, different possible options. Who knows? You may even change your career aspirations. You may cease to think of becoming a computer software engineer. You may actually end up and do phenomenally well becoming a social worker or a philanthropist or a financial person. So, children, what I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm just going to tell you, do something. Keep doing something other than the mundane and the routine. Keep yourself busy. Keep yourself in some form of purposeful activity. Playing alone and alone in on your computer screens, tablets, laptops, or your Android phones is not just going to lead you anywhere. You do that, you need to be entertained, you need to be relaxed, you need to be refreshed, but also use this time to do. It's also a great opportunity for you to learn to do the simple chores at home. Learn to make how to make a cup of tea or coffee, because tomorrow, in a few months or a year's time, you're going to be staying in a hostel. And if you become adept enough to at least fend for yourself a coffee, a breakfast, a chapati, learning how to make a chapati or a bowl of rice or a simple dal or a simple curry is going to keep you from starvation, should, God forbid, a scenario arise at a later point of time in your hostel life where you may be needed to cook and fend for your own self. Learn to wash your clothes, learn to iron your shirt, learn to fold and iron your trousers, learn to polish your shoes, learn to fix a small fuse on the switch in the panel board. Learn to fix your car tires, or learn to, these are small things you need to learn. And this is a great opportunity. It's a God-sent opportunity of time. Try to make the most of it. My dear friends, I know, I totally sympathize, I totally amalgamate with your concerns, with your fears, with your worries. But I guess there's always a light at the end of a tunnel. So this is just a moment of time. It's a temporary moment of time where nothing is clear. Just as even your parents are quite worried. They are worried about themselves and they're worried about you too. So I sign off by saying that time gained and time utilized is like an investment which keeps paying you time and again in the future. Had you been smart and confident and wise enough to invest your attributes and invest your abilities correctly at the right point of time. Have a blessed day. Have a great weekend ahead. God bless all of you. Thank you.